Okay. Hi, Anne. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's very good to see you today. So this is our very end session for the counseling session. So it's gonna last for 10 minutes, and then we'll see like how it's going, how it goes, and then we'll see like how we can like get a positive impact. Okay, so I would just like to revise on our first two sessions. So in our first session, we talk about your anxiety, how is your situation, husband's situation, that he is in bed rest, and how you are feeling a bit isolated and anxious at the same time. You also told me about your children, that you are a bit far away from them, and then you are like feeling lonely as well, and then you haven't like been in contact with them more frequently. That's why you miss them a lot. And we also talk about, but the good thing was we also talk about your you're going to the church.
Yeah. Actually, going to church is like becoming a routine for me now because if I'm not going to the church, I feel like something is missing in my life. So it's kind of becoming routine for me. So
it,
I'm
we,
going on regular basis.
Okay, which is good at some point, because if you can find something that is making you busy and happy at the same time, and you have less time to think about stuff, like going on, I think it's better for you in some way, that it's like good for you to interact with people, and then also like meet people in the church and talking about stuff, because you are feeling like anxious and isolated at the same time. Also, we had a bit of talk with on our next second session, and you told me that you are getting a bit of, like panic attacks, and also you are like having like unusual breathing, heavy breathing at the same time. So are you having the same problem? Like, did you have any of the heavy breathing in last 7 days that we had our session after that?
Yeah, a few days ago I went out with my one of my neighbor and my husband was sick at that time and I went out to get his medicine and at that time I was thinking about him and suddenly I got panic attack and then I followed the theory which you discussed with me at CBT theory which you discussed with me in a previous session and I started following that theory and it really worked out for me.
Yeah. So have you been like doing the same thing whenever you are getting like
Yeah,
this kind of thoughts?
yeah, if I have time and if I am getting some like these kind of negative thoughts, I always follow your theory.
I'm glad that it did work for you at some point. So I'm just in last session I told you that we are going to do a bit of like CBT therapy in our next session, like different process. So this is about CBT therapy is all about thoughts, how our feelings are, and then how we cope with the situation with our thoughts. So today we are going to talk about your thoughts that are giving you anxiety, and like that is making you depressed, because every people, they have their thoughts on their mind, and then it can lead to a situation that you haven't expected, but it's just like a image that people have put in their mind, that okay, this is gonna happen, and then this is gonna impact me in future. So these kind of thoughts, can make you like, this kind of negative thoughts can make you a bit like depressed and anxious at the same time. So when you told me about your husband being sick, and you told me that you are going to be lonely in future, and you also told me that like you can't deal with the situation by yourself, but CBT therapy is about changing these thoughts and bringing like a positive thoughts on your mind, that nothing is gonna go wrong, but still you will be able to deal with this kind of situation. So I'll give you an example. So if I think that okay, I'm going to have my exam today, and I'm gonna think that okay, what if I didn't do well, and what if I am gonna fail the subject, like the worst case scenario is what if I'm gonna fail the subject. But if I can change my thought into like, what if I have tried hard, what if I try hard, and then what if I do my best, and then I can still like changing my thought into a positive thought. in that situation. So how does it sound to you?
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
when when you have this kind of thoughts on your brain, like you can always think about your you know like you can think about your husband being sick, but you can think in a positive way that okay, he's sick, but still I want to make his end days in a beautiful way, staying with your children, spending time with your children, giving him the best time possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, how does that sound to you?
It sounds interesting. And as I told you, that my children, they came to see us last week, and we had dinner together, and they spent like almost 3 to 4 hours with us. And
Yeah.
I feel like after our second session, I discussed with my children, and I feel like they are kind of having connection with us now, and they started contacting me, and they started spending time with me. So it's like good thing for me after previous session.
That is the thing that you wanted to spend more time with your children, and you wanted to like have like a time with your grandchildren as well. I'm really glad that you did have a good time with your children and even your grandchildren. So I would recommend you that whenever you have this kind of thoughts, like the process we are doing now is like cognitive restructuring. So whenever you have this kind of thoughts on your mind, and just like write it down on a paper, because it's always good to like take out the thoughts. E- Either you share with someone, or either you like note it down by yourself, that why am I thinking this, what's the reason behind it, what can be the like the worst case scenario in this kind of situation. If you always if you can write it down and take it out on like a paper, or if you can talk about this thought with someone. Have you had any got a chance, like except me, to talk about this situation with anyone?
Yeah, I have been discussing all these scenarios with one of my close friends. She's like my childhood friend, and I have been discussing with her, and she's kind of busy, so uh, I can talk with her like maybe once a week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I used to talk to her about these issues.
So how do you feel like after talking the situation with your childhood friend?
As I said, she's kind of busy, and she's a housewife as well.
Mm-hmm.
And after meeting you, it's kind of I'm feeling bit relief.
Yeah. So you can see that sharing your thoughts with someone is giving you a bit relief.
Yeah.
And also, like, if I like saying positive things about, if you can bring positive things on your mind about the situation that you have,
Yeah.
it's gonna impact you in a positive way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Just about 8 minutes,
okay. Yeah. So this process, the cognitive restructuring process, is about changing the initial cause into a more accurate thoughts.
Yeah.
So
That's
this is the process. I really want you to follow this up, and then see like how it goes with your like with your anxiety and depression.
Sure.
And one more question for you, that if you have like the same like if your friend is going through a same situation that you are in, and then if you had to like give her like a bit of advice, or you want to be with her, what would you tell her?
I will just ask her to stay in her condition and accept all those, accept the reality,
Mm-hmm.
and don't depress much, and try to go out and have a conversation with different people, and hopefully she'll feel better.
Okay, yeah, that's perfectly right. Like you can like when you can say the same thing to your friends, and then you can do the same thing for yourself. I think it's gonna bring like a positive impact on yourself, and then I think it's gonna make your like life easier in the future. So I think it's almost the end of our session for today, and it was like great meeting you, and then it was great having you to here. but it's not the end. We won't be saying a goodbye, like we'll keep in touch. If you have anything, you can always call me, or you can, if you want more session with me, then you can always like book in an institution at the front. And thank you for sharing your thoughts with me, and it was like a pleasure to meet you, Anne. I hope you have a great time ahead, and
Thank you so much. Thank you.
that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.